After randomly disappearing in 2021, Marc Jacobs came back in the year 2026 with a vengeance. They decided to come out with products that don't look like anything else on the market right now as far as the packaging goes, and everyone was really excited to see this brand come back. And I'm about to dupe the vibes of it. I'm not doing a Marc Jacobs brand review. Who are you? So they launched 7 products, and I pulled out a bunch of products that I already had in my makeup collection that I really love and maybe don't always share with you or share with myself that I have these products. And I'm going to show you why I don't need the new Marc Jacobs products and hopefully prove to you that you also don't need the new Marc Jacobs products. Let's get into this. Let's start by trying to find a dupe or a similar color in my makeup collection to some of the eyeshadows that Marc Jacobs put out. I am a big fan of a one and done eyeshadow look, and this kind of thing, these like single compacts that have one eyeshadow in them, are totally up my alley. And a lot of luxury brands and high-end brands have some sort of offering as this. So I'm happy to see that Marc Jacobs did this. I like the legacy of this type of thing. And when I am interested in an eyeshadow, it is typically kind of sold to me this way. There are 2 shades that they make that I kind of thought were cute. The first shade that I was a little bit drawn to is the shade Shady. And the other shade that I was drawn to is the shade Serving. Shady is described as a metallic champagne. It's very similar to a lot of shades I already like and have as single compacts, and I have in a lot of eyeshadows. It's not a very unique looking color from what I can see online. I've not seen any of these products in person. And Serving, I don't know what it really looks like in real life. To me, it's a little more purple than it is pink, and that's what I'm kind of like looking into my makeup collection for. My goal when I was looking through my makeup collection, I was looking for textures that were a little bit weird in eyeshadows as well as color, but then I was also looking for just the color, whether it was a powder eyeshadow or a cream eyeshadow. I was kind of just like doing one or the other. So I came up with some like vibes dupes that I think are good that I already had in my makeup collection. The first product I thought of were the PHYTOSURGENCE eyeshadows. Unfortunately, if you live in the United States, you cannot buy PHYTOSURGENCE eyeshadows anymore, and that makes me really sad. But I pulled out the shade Chilled Cherry because it's really beautiful, and it's not as pink as Serving is, but it is like a weird color, and Serving looks like a little bit of a weird color. Plummy color. This Chilled Cherry is like a plummy kind of color. It's a very interesting shade. It's very bruisey. It's such a pretty color. It's definitely not as sparkly as the shades that I was looking at Marc Jacobs. I can't recall if there are matte shades. I think there are matte shades in the eyeshadows. That wouldn't be what I would pick if I'm picking a single shadow anyway, so I don't have to worry about that. Another formula with an interesting texture and a color that is sort of like Serving, but it's not exactly a dupe either, is this from Rituel de Fille. This is the shade Flora in their Ashen Ember Eye Soot. The Ashen Ember Eye Soots, I think they are just a powder eyeshadow, but like they're such a weird, interesting texture. And this shade is like a sheeny purple color. Very pretty. Not sure if it's going to be the one I like choose to wear. Something that I thought might be a little bit similar to the shade Shady is in this from Rowan. It's their 1111 eyeshadow, and I think that this shade would be a really good dupe. It's the shade Situation right here, and the Rowan eyeshadows, the old ones, have a very interesting formula in them, and so that's what it looks like on my finger. I don't think it's gonna like swatch super great. It's just like a sparkly champagne. There's some like blue sparkles in it. It's not exactly like one kind of sparkle through it, which I tend to like, especially if we're going with like a simple kind of nudie shade. I like for the sparkles, if there are sparkles in it, to be like pink or purple or like blue, like something a little bit weird. And this color has it. I'm not sure if the Marc Jacobs one does though. Another formula that is weird but not like the Marc Jacobs one at all are these jelly sticks from ColourPop. I received this in PR. I'm not planning on doing like a bunch of ColourPop content, but they offered to send me 3 things. I chose 3 things. I don't know. I feel weird about it still because of all of the Harry Potter stuff years ago, but I was interested in this formula. I was just curious how close they might be to the It's Literally Magic stick, so I kind of got them mostly as like a, is it close? Anyway, this is the shade Make a Toast, and it is this bright and shiny. I don't know, it looks really dark in here. It looks like a dark taupe in the container. And then when I swatch it, it's like this very light sheer with a lot of sparkles in it. But there is a little bit of a sheer brown base in it. Color is very pretty. But the first thing I turned to, and this is definitely like a me thing. I'm very utilitarian now with eyeshadow palettes, and I have this from Blend Bunny. This is their palette with Ellis Atlantis, the second palette, and it's an all shimmer palette. So if I'm ever interested in a shimmer shade, I always will pull this out and look at it first before I buy a single shadow. So I think that there are two shades in here that would be similar. So we have the shade Estranged, which I feel like could be close to Serving. Maybe not as dark as Serving, but we also have the shade Haunting, which is another purple. And that's maybe a little too fancy for what we're trying to dupe. For like a metallic champagne, we have this shade in here, Glimmer. And we also have the shade Infused in the center here. Oh, actually the darker shade might be a better swap for Serving because it's a little more purple in practice than I thought it was going to be. As you can see, I really have this covered. And while these are not my favorite shimmer formula, if I am interested in a color that is a little bit weird and something I won't wear a lot, this is typically what I reach for if I feel inspired by a specific color. But I think for today's look, for my eyeshadow, I think I'm going to actually go with the Rowan Quad. I'm not thinking it's the best dupe, but I also haven't worn this in a while, and it is an interesting texture. It's an interesting formula. I think it checks a lot of boxes that the Marc Jacobs eyeshadow would provide. So I'm just going to apply it quickly with my finger. Of course, this doesn't have like the unique packaging that the Marc Jacobs one does, but I haven't worn this shade in a while, and look how pretty it is. It's so pretty. I love it so much. The next product I'm going to try to dupe is their eyeliner. As I said in the intro, I have not watched any content about this. I don't know anything about any of the actual Marc Jacobs products. In the old line, the Highliner, I think they were called, those eyeliners were very popular. I worked at Sephora when Marc Jacobs was in stores still and not discontinued. And those eyeliners were, people were always asking where they were. They were very popular. So if you have tried the new eyeliners, or if you tried the old eyeliners and the new eyeliners, let me know how they compare. I'm very curious. If you've known me for any amount of time, you know that I have one eyeliner formula that I think performs the best of all, and it's my favorite one. It might not be your favorite one, but for me, it's the Victoria Beckham eyeliners. There's a shade called You Wish in their eyeliner formula, which is a dark matte brown, and the shade Cocoa from Victoria Beckham is a dark matte brown. So I pulled that out. But there's also a like lilac-y purple shade called Delulu. And I have this that I got in PR a while ago. I don't support Urban Decay anymore, but I do have this product. And I think something that is important to remember, as if you are someone who is trying to be more conscious about where your money goes in the makeup world, if you already have something, you should still use it. It doesn't mean you shouldn't still use it. And I feel as though, even though I'm trying to be a better person about knowing where my money is going and who to support, I still have this product, and I think I should be allowed to use it on camera without fanfare. So I pulled this out. This is from Urban Decay. It's their 24/7 liquid stick, and it's in the shade Denim Wash. And whenever I got this in PR, I remember thinking, I was like, this is such an interesting color, and it seems kind of similar to Delulu. It's like a sparkly periwinkle lavender situation. Very pretty. I do think the one from Marc Jacobs is, I think, prettier than this probably. I'm not going to use Denim Wash today because I feel like the blush is going to be the loudest part of my look today, so I'm going to allow it. So what I'm going to do with Cocoa, I'm just going to tightline with it. Yeah, I think I'm just going to I'm just gonna tightline. I'm not even gonna put it in my waterline. It needs sharpened though. I actually think I need to replace it soon. I have no idea how much more it will let me sharpen. If you're not familiar with the Victoria Beckham eyeliners, they do have like a smudger on one side. And I don't think I've historically ever finished an eyeliner, so we're really close with this one. I think the last time I used it, it scratched my eyes a little bit. So I'm just gonna give it a quick sharpen. Marc Jacobs also launched a mascara. I'm gonna be honest, I'm almost never interested in a new mascara launch. I like to stick to things that are tried and true. So I'm just gonna keep working on the one that I have open right now. Okay, so now we have a Marc Jacobs inspired eye look. Looks very similar to a bunch of other eye looks I do all of the time. And if I were to buy any of those eye products, I would be like, oh wow, this looks a lot like stuff I already do with the makeup I already have. And sometimes, I will be honest with you, it's really satisfying to like do this activity just to be like, oh, that looks exactly, I mean, not exactly the same as like those Marc Jacobs products, but it's like, I have mascara on, I have eyeliner on, and I have eyeshadow on. What would I get out of buying one of these new Marc Jacobs products? They launched a blush stick that comes in really cute packaging, and I was actually not inspired by any of the colors that they had launched. When I was looking online just to like pick a color to dupe in my makeup collection, I was like, I actually wouldn't wear any of these colors, but the color that was most similar to something I already had in my makeup collection and that I would wear is the shade Last Word, which they describe as a vibrant lilac. I thought of a couple of different blushes in my makeup collection. Another blush that I own that is in cute packaging that is a stick blush cream formula is from Trixie Cosmetics. They have a shade called Baby, and I would say that this is like a baby pink with a bit of lavender in it. This color was pretty popular a couple years ago, not specifically the shade Baby, but like this purple lavender pinky bright color. So we have that right there. This is definitely brighter than the one that was launched by Marc Jacobs, but I also thought of another PHYTOSURGENCE product. It's their cream blushes. I depotted mine and I put them in pans so that I could put them in my cream blush palette here. And I thought of their shade Wisp, which is the purple that they offer. It comes in a pot though. It doesn't come in like a cute blush stick like the Trixie one. So like in feel, I think the Trixie one is probably like closer to the vibe of having the Marc Jacobs one as like it's in a stick packaging. But I think Wisp is probably like the color that's closer. I'm gonna pick Wisp today because Baby can sometimes really need to go with the makeup that I'm putting on. And considering this is a bit of like a mishmash slash toss up of like colors, I think it's gonna be safer to use Wisp. So I'm going to apply Wisp. I've actually already powdered my face. Both of these formulas work well over powder, in case you were curious. Also, I just want to reiterate that both of these are much less expensive. The Trixie blushes, I think, are like $18. And I think like the PHYTOSURGENCE ones are like about $15 to $18 after the exchange. And I know I said you can't buy the eyeshadows earlier, but you can still buy the blushes from PHYTOSURGENCE in the United States. Why did I sound like I was throwing major vocal fry? What the heck was that? They launched a bunch of powder bronzers, and I think I've passively heard that people have liked them. I also think that I've heard that people think the shade range is good. The bronzer I chose to do in lieu of the one from Marc Jacobs is from Gucci. Now, mine is depotted and I did break the original packaging, which I did not intend to do. And I also don't know how long for this world the Gucci bronzer is going to be, because if you didn't know this, Gucci just recently got bought out by L'Oreal. Their contract with Coty, which is the company that formulates this. I don't think we're going to have this for very much longer. So I'm going to use this instead of buying the new Marc Jacobs one. But it also comes in really cute packaging if that is part of the appeal for you. And it sometimes is for me, but not much anymore. I also don't wear a lot of powder bronzer. So I really only have this one, and I have a couple other ones too, but like the Gucci bronzer is my main powder bronzer. Marc Jacobs also launched a highlighter that they called the Money Shot highlighter, and it comes in a pot. I have no idea what the texture of that is. It looks like a gel online. Do you guys remember the brand Incredible? I don't know if they still exist. It was like Incredible. They had a gel highlighter that looked a lot like this one did in the pot. I think I've heard that it might be similar to the Half Magic glitter pucks. I have no idea. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. But here are most of, not all of my highlighters in here. And this highlighter, I think it's from Bella Beauty Bar. I don't remember what collection this purpley one was from, but that's the one I'm going to put on. It's definitely more of like an effect highlighter. I'll figure out which collection this is from, but here's what it looks like on my finger. And then here is what it looks like blended out. I feel like that's a very similar vibe to the one from Marc Jacobs. Again, I haven't seen it in person and I haven't watched any reviews, but that's kind of the vibe I've been getting from it, at least online. So the last thing we have to talk about is their lipstick, which I believe to be like a shiny lipstick formula. There's a shade called Eat It Up, which is a cool beige, and I love a cool toned beige. I actually don't have a lot of like luminous lipsticks in a bullet formula. So I pulled out some things that I thought might work. I pulled out this lip gloss stick from Trixie Cosmetics. This is the shade Bottoms Up. I don't think it would be like the exact vibe, but it's something. It's like a mauve-y kind of shade. Very pretty, and I think could mimic the idea of a cool beige nude. And then I also pulled out some formulas I haven't worn in a while or very much on camera at all. I pulled out this from Hindash. This color is not going to be the same as a cool beige tinted lip balm. That's how Hindash described it in my comment section on one video where I tried this, and I called it like a blurring matte formula, but it's not as shiny obviously as the lip gloss, but I don't think it's very shiny at all. Anyway, I also put out some Gucci satin lipsticks, a shade I haven't used in forever. We have a Royal Scandal, which I think is a cool toned beige. I think this is right up the alley. There's a little bit of green in it that can be a little more pronounced on my skin tone, but that's okay. And then I also pulled out this shade, also from Gucci. Both of these are discontinued. This is the shade Cimarron, and it is more of like a raisiny brown. So I wouldn't say that's like a cool beige nude, but it has a nice finish that I think is similar. And the packaging of all three of these lipsticks are nice. So like the Trixie one's very cute. The Hindash one is actually quite similar to the Gucci one. It's like metal, aluminum, or something. Feels very luxe in the hands. And obviously the Gucci ones are very beautiful. I feel like everything that launches these days comes in shittier packaging, even if it's from a luxury brand. I think I'm actually going to wear a Royal Scandal. I haven't worn it in a really long time. I am going to put a lip liner on though. They didn't launch a lip liner, I don't think. So I'm going to put on a lip liner. I'm going to use the Refi Lip Blur in the shade Teak. Wow, why would I spend hundreds of dollars on new Marc Jacobs makeup when I could do basically the exact look I would want to do with the new Marc Jacobs makeup, Wow, this sentence structure is weird. Why would I buy the new Marc Jacobs makeup if the makeup I already have is gonna do the same thing that the new Marc Jacobs makeup would do for me anyway? I have beautiful colors and interesting textures on my skin from the formulas that I got, and I think that's great. I'm gonna set my face, I'm gonna zoom you out, and we're gonna wrap this up. So while I do think that it's exciting that Marc Jacobs is back and they're doing something that seems a little bit different than the rest of the makeup industry right now, they do not offer anything that I don't already have. I've been in the makeup game for the last 10 years, and a lot of you watching this video have probably been wearing makeup even longer than I have. And if that is the case, make sure you always double check your makeup collection before you go out and buy the new stuff. I just think that there are probably so many gems in your makeup collection that you don't wear on a regular basis that you forget about. And then you see some shiny new thing that looks a lot like it. And you're like, man, I really wish I had something like that. The probability that you do is very high. I think a lot of us are creatures of habit and we buy the same shades and colors over and over again because those are the colors that we like. And if that is the case, if you are not someone who is wearing every color of the rainbow, just double check, make sure that you don't already have the thing that you are interested in. Anyway, that's gonna wrap up the video for me. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you check out my pinned comment. There are links to support people who need your help right now. If you have additional funds to support them, please feel free to do so. I'm on Patreon and I have channel memberships. You can find those linked in the description box down below if you're interested. I do an additional video over there every single month, and think of it more as a way to support what I am doing rather than like a tiered system. I'm a one-person operation, and for me to generate content just takes a lot of work from me, and this is not my full-time gig. So I do as much as I can with the time that I have. So that's a way to support me and what work I'm doing here. And I think that's about it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to follow your haute and you'll find me, and I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth, tits out.